Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, April 5th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. Tonight's topic is I am the true state of sovereignty. So we're going to get into the quote, quote, technical definition of what sovereignty is from a political aspect. We're going to talk about this sovereign movement, and then more importantly, we're going to talk about sovereignty from a spiritual perspective and what that means to you. I also have a follow-up item from last week, actually two follow-up items that I want to discuss with the family as well. So with that said, let me bring on my co-host. Let me bring on Brother Sean, just a second here. Peace and love, brother.
Peace and love, sis. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Good thing. Okay, let me bring on Sis Sandra. Let's see here. Peace and love, sis.
Peace and love to you too, family, Rhonda and Brother Sean and everybody else.
How are you?
Again.
Good. Okay, all right. So I have a follow-up item. Oh, and before I get started, last week we were supposed to have Sis Phoenix Moon on, and she wasn't able to join us. She did reach out. She actually did have a serious family emergency, so I totally understand that. So, we'll try to get her back on when her schedule allows. So shout out to Sis Phoenix for all the great work that she does. Okay. All righty. So I do have a follow-up item before we go into the go-ahead on with the fuckery and then this week's topic. So last week, the topic was because Big Mama said so, and it was about titles, classification, and races. And then we were going to have Sis Phoenix on to really go into it and discuss her research. So with that said, we also kind of talked about that 2020 census. And remember, I was telling y'all that the article that I had pulled on the NPR, that they actually had the questionnaire out there, and then they had pulled it off. Well, I'm minding my business, and somebody on Facebook, I think it was a brother named Brother Imhotep, he had wound up posting an article that they put out there, and this is still NPR. This one came out on March 13th. So this one came out before the one that I read last week. Okay, so the title of this article is 2020 Census Will Ask Black People About Their Exact Origins. I told y'all in that other article they said it. So I'm going to read this article. For the 2020 census, the U.S. Census Bureau is changing how it will ask Black people to designate their race. Under the checkbox for Black or African American, the Bureau is adding a new space on the census questionnaire for participants to write in their non-Hispanic origins, according to a recent memo from the head of the 2020 census. African American, Jamaican, and Nigerian are listed as examples of the origin on a questionnaire the Bureau is testing for 2020. The change means many Black people in the U.S. may have to take a closer look at their family trees to answer what can be a thorny question. Where are you really from? While many Black immigrants can cite ties to a specific country, that question is difficult, if not impossible, for many U.S.-born African Americans to answer. The Bureau has not responded to NPR's questions about why it is making this change to the both Black category and the white category, which will also include a new write-in area for origins. But researchers at the Bureau have said that they have been trying to respond to requests for more detailed disaggregate data for our diverse American experience as German, Mexican, Korean, Jamaica, and a myriad other identities. The Bureau was considering an overhaul to all racial categories that would have added checkboxes for the largest ethnic groups and writing area for smaller groups. But it would require that the Trump administration's approval of an Obama-era proposal to change the federal standards on race and ethnicity data, which census experts say the White House Office of Management and Budget is not likely to move forward. Black from everywhere. For Nat Amiri, the write-in area will allow her to be more specific about Black identity. I'm African. I identify as Black, but I don't see myself as African American, says Amiri, who was born in Ethiopia and now lives in New York City. We can't just be black as African Americans. We are black from Africa. We are black from the Caribbean. We're black from everywhere. You can hear some of that diversity among the African diaspora at African Services Committee, where Amari works as a legal advocate for immigrants in New York City. Sanoki Mandingo, and a couple other people. They're all spoken by staff members at this Harlem-based nonprofit organization where French is the common language in the office, according to Amanda Lugg, the director of advocacy for people living with HIV. Lugg says more detailed census data about Black people's ancestry could improve the public health work at her organization, which offers free health screening to immigrants. This is a great step forward in terms of being able to get more specific on who's actually living here, says Love, who identifies as Black British. This keeps me up at night. Malusu Bekele, the director of program operations at African Services Community, says asking for people's origins on the census is likely to run into a major hurdle. Around the country, there's a growing distrust in turning over personal information to the government. Are people willing to answer that question given the current anti-immigration sentiment? That I can't tell you, says Bekele, who is Ethiopian American. It's a concern shared by Christina Greer, a political science professor at Fordham University, who wrote Black Ethnics, Race, Immigrations, and the Pursuit of the American Dream. This keeps me up at night because it's not about filling out the census, she said. Greer warns that if fewer Black people participate in the upcoming census, there could be an undercount that would have impacts lasting long after 2020, including on redistributing seats in the House of Representatives and drawing up legislation districts. Where are you from? Exactly. Where are you from? Still, Greer says she's planning to write down Black American for her origins. I consider myself just Black, she says. When people ask you where you're from and I say, oh, you know, New York, Philly, Chicago, Baltimore, it's like, no, but where are you from? Many African Americans who have roots in the U.S. going back centuries to ancestors forced upon these shores as enslaved people cannot answer that question. If you're really honest with that, hundreds of years of U.S. chattel slavery really meant, Greer says, many people had to walk miles and across countries before they were shipped off. Okay, sticking with American. The enslavement of hundreds and thousands of African people in the U.S. cut ties to home countries for their descendants, including Chris Owens, a project engineer for an energy consulting firm based in New York City. Raised in St. Louis, Owens said for most of his life, questions about his race were straightforward. Either you're Black or you're white, at least where I'm from, he says. But after moving to Boston and later New York, he says he has been asked whether he is of Haitian or Jamaican descent. That even caused me to figure out which island I was from, Owen said. He has just over 2 years to keep digging into family history for an answer before the 2020 census forms come out. For now, though, if you ask him about his origins, he is sticking with American. Okay, so again, that's the article off of NPR. It came out on March 13th, and it's titled 2020 Census Will Ask Black People About Their Exact Origins. So I'll pause. I know y'all got something to put on it.
Oh, yeah. We got something to put on it. First of all, it's another land grab to me. It's just another land grab because, like we were talking about last week, there were so few people that came across on slave ships to this Americas, and it was like 3,500. And but we were here before they got here. We were Phoenix Moon and Dark Man X. We're autonomous or whatever they call that. We were materialized here. So they came over, talking about the Europeans, with their stories. They so miraculously had all these slave ships that brought millions of us here. And they didn't have no motors on them ships, by the way. And it takes, about 17 months to get from Africa over here. So how in the world they do that when they didn't feed anybody? So they came over here and enslaved us here on our own land.
Right.
On our own land. And so with this stupid census, since they done spent since 1825, 26, trying to make us believe, brainwash us into being African Americans, black, Negroes, and coloreds. Those are titles that they gave us. We are the indigenous people to the Americas. And if our people write down they're black, Negro, colored, or African American, they're giving up their title to this land. And it's just another land grab. Because in 1871, I know I'm preaching, in 1871, they only got 10 square miles of, what's that place up there? Washington, D.C. 10 square miles. Now they're going to take the whole thing. Plus, there's another issue. They have given lands for a lot of mortgages to China. They owe China lots and lots and lots and lots of money. And they've already given it to China. And China and them are beefing. So they're going to have to get you out of your home if you don't declare that this is your home. You're original to this place.
Right.
So it's a political motivation for them to change that because they done brainwashed us with all these stupid schools, teachers, and all this stuff who's gotten to our psyche. And that's what it is. They've gotten to our psyche because most of us want to belong somewhere. But let me tell the family, and I'm going to say it loud, and I'm going to say it proud. I ain't going to say I'm black. I'm going to say I am the aboriginal of this America. If you're Jamaican, if you're Cuban, if you're Caribbean, that is Brazilian, that is America.
Right.
And Columbus says when he got here, he saw colored people. Now they're going to try to bring the African whites over here. Come on now. It's just another land grabbing. 1828 Webster's Dictionary said that copper-colored people were considered the American Indians until the Europeans were born here. Look it up, 1828, Webster's Dictionary definition. You're going to find out who you really are because you're going to have to get rid of that brainwashing they done given you about being African, colored, Negroes, and Native Indians, because natives weren't born here. They were born here later after they, hooked up or captured some of our people. But, I hear that, and I say to myself, wow, they really going all out to take the land. That's all they're trying to do.
Now, it's interesting because here's what I got when I read that article. Because when I heard they were changing the census and asking for specifics, I looked at it in the aspect of, okay, who's going to say out of the indigenous Americans, which is us, who's going to step up and say that, okay? Now, and the reason I feel that way is because they are literally giving you an opportunity to write what you want in there.
Exactly.
So,
well, actually, they have it
blew
now.
my wig back, but hold up. What blew my wig back, the white people got to do the fucking same. So you just
They'll
can't
be
put
deported.
the fucking white. So that swings both ways. It's popping in this bitch. That swings both ways. And in that article, family, you could click on the link and they give you a sample of this census, and they motherfucking highlighted the white people shit. They got to tell where the fuck they from.
And they can't.
They can.
And here's deep, because with if you pick motherfucking American Indian, goddamn it, you better say what federal tribe you from. If you pick white, you gotta goddamn say what are you? You English? You German? You Italian? So everybody has to specify.
That's a shame.
No, that's a good thing. I don't think it's a shame.
I mean, it's a good thing, but we have been brainwashed more than anybody else.
It does not matter, sis. Remember, it is not their job to tell us. Why would we depend on our conquerors
to tell us the truth? Yep.
It is our responsibility. Now, they're giving soft disclosure. Every time you look around, they talking about this 2020 census.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think a lot of people are going to start thinking, wait a minute, I really got to specify where I'm from?
That's
so
true.
The ball is in each individual person's hand. Now, that's
the way
I look at it.
You know, in 2016, Obama and I guess the Pope got together, like Black was saying, that the Pope gave us our freedom, and they presented the American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act.
Yeah, the UNDRIP, this UNDRIP. You can
they got
look
two.
it up, absolutely. Yeah,
they got
do.
two. They got the
American other ones. Huh?
And the UN.
ADRIP.
AZIP.
ADRIP.
UDRIP.
Okay. American.
Yeah, they got the American one and the UDRIP.
Okay.
So you have to know that they're giving you the opportunity to declare that you're the indigenous people to this land. And you better do that, or you're going to be on the ships in the middle of the ocean, and Africa ain't going to take you because they consider you white, and they don't want you. They're getting rid of all the whites.
And, you know, the interesting part even about this is that, you know, and I think I got this from Dane Calloway, one of his videos, that it's even the way you disclose your stuff on applications. If anybody's ever filled out an application, they have a voluntary race identification. I don't know if you call it specifically that, but y'all should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
okay, so even on that, you get to, you know, choose what you identify yourself as. And it was interesting because Dane said, you know, that they can even pull stuff like that. And I saw somebody in the comments was saying, yeah, you know, I couldn't even, when I was filling out that form, that I would always put that I'm an indigenous American. And they said, and I could never get a call back for employment until I just stopped filling it out. And I was like, oh, of course you're not going to get a call back because they can't motherfucking profit from you.
No, they
you're
can't.
Clearly identifying that you're not a part of the corporate system.
Of the U.S., exactly. The government incorporated. Exactly. It's not even a country. It's an incorporated government.
Exactly.
And, you know, and you just said on that paper that the Office of Budget Management, do you know on the S, like in Sam, F like in Frank, 181 is one of their forms, and they have it like employees of the government. That's how they.
Girl, and do you know, not to cut you off, that you got some motherfucking people telling our people to fill out that SF-181 and classify themselves as white, and people
that's
running
wrong.
down to the driver's license place, motherfucking arguing with the driver's license people to change their status and all that stupid bullshit.
Oh, if you change it to white, you have to be born in Africa. You just gave up your rights.
And well, wait, this is the thing. Now, this really going to blow your wig back. You have people that have actually changed the name on birth certificates to a totally different name, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. So,
the Moors, the Moors teach that. They teach that. And they teach you that you're white, that you were the original here, you're the first. But the problem is that's not what they mean on them forms. Them forms do not mean that. It tells you exactly. I have one in
to them that want to identify as Moor with North Africa, which is really in motherfucking North Africa.
Sis, but if you look at the definition of white on those forms, it speaks about people from Europe or North Africa.
That's right.
I mean, so the Moors are actually right. If
for them.
If you believe that you're a Moor. So they're actually telling their slaves correctly. They telling people the correct way to get their asses booted up out of here.
Exactly. Be sitting in the middle of the ocean.
No, though, brother. Most of the folks filling that out, they thinking that they're getting some type of benefit behind the scenes and not realizing they're giving away their birthright. Exactly.
That's
they're
right.
giving away their birthright because the Moors, now do the Moors not say that North Africa is over here? Is that not the doctrine that they must?
That's what they say. But that's not
Northwest of Maxim.
Exactly.
Northwest, and that's not what is considered here on paper.
That's not accurate.
No.
That is not what any of those classifications mean. And you're absolutely right, sis, that and Brother Sean, that North African status is really for the Moors and really for whites. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not for you as indigenous Americans that were born in the Americas, so let's be clear about that. And not only you being born here, but all of your lineage back. So it's back what Big Mama and them said, not what the motherfucking Moors say or nobody else say. It's what your ancestors tell you that you are. So that's here in the United States, that's in Canada, that's Alaska, and that's in the Caribbean, and that's in Brazil or South America.
All the Americas. But see, they done split them up with names, so people were like, well, I'm a Jamaican. Well, you're an American. I'm a Cuban. You're American. But see, they want everybody to think that they're all separate. We're all one. This is called the Americas, just like you see.
Right.
Yeah, I've been studying that stuff, and I'm like, whoa. I found out all the little tricks they've been pulling on us. And like I said, I believe this census is a land grab because they going to put you on a ship. It's like DACA. DACA?
Yeah, DACA, where they get to ship people out. But here's the thing, sis, though.
Yeah.
How the fuck they gonna grab land when they're not from here? So what part am I missing? So how are they gonna grab land? I think, now this is just my too humble sense. to think that they could be shipped off to another continent.
Maybe
they're working out another colony deal like they did with Sierra Leone and the other place, Liberia. Or because on a spiritual level, with this frequency expanding, they asses got to go anyway. And that's when they're going to pump that, well, let's go to us to Mars, which is that next round. Yeah, so that's just my 2 cents. I'm sorry, Brother Sean, go ahead.
We got to pass.
Yeah, but we got to understand what the whole thing. They ain't at war with China.
I agree.
Everybody is at war with us.
Right.
This empire still ain't fair. We lost some battles, but we ain't lost the war. Obviously.
Exactly.
Look at all the shit that they still trying to do to us.
Right.
And ain't none of this
Because they
shit
can't
working.
get rid of us.
They'll never be able to get rid of us.
Exactly.
China don't own the motherfucking thing over here. And what do they owe China? They ain't got shit. Ain't none of them got shit for real. Because the motherfuckers over there in China that's taking the front, they ain't the aboriginals from there.
That's
so
true.
I don't give a fuck about none of them. Whether you talking about Putin, any of them damn Caucasians, I do not give a fuck about.
Well, and it's interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not saying this out of hate either. I ain't got to hate them to love me. I love me enough to know that you motherfuckers over here stealing. And every motherfucker that you invite over here is profiting off of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't profit off of stolen goods. These motherfuckers ain't got no gold, no silver, no diamonds. Whatever the fuck you dug up here, that's our shit. You have nothing.
No.
That's right.
You're going to leave here with nothing. And that census and that UnDrip and that A-Drip, all that's bullshit too. That's just more fucking paperwork and more fucking pausing. They know who the fuck we are. They knew who the fuck we was when they came here and took shit. So sitting up here telling them I'm this, I'm that don't mean a motherfucking thing. Okay, they list you in another goddamn category, but now you still listed in their goddamn system. The thing is, this whole system has to fucking fall. It has to be destroyed.
Exactly.
Period.
Right.
Completely. Because that's what they plan on doing to us. We at war. And in the 48 laws of war, power of war, 48 laws of power, it says to destroy your enemy completely. These are their guidelines that they're going by. So their plans are to destroy us completely. They don't care nothing about the ones they sacrifice. They sacrifice the ones to sit up and mix and mingle with us, this, that, and the other, so they can change up the complexion of things. But from that aspect, it will come in handy. But most of our people avoid the census anyway.
Yeah, we do.
So,
we really do.
So a lot are going to speak up and then go fall up under the category of immigrants. And as we see Trump going hard on immigrants, and it's getting to the point with him, the so-called color of the immigrant don't matter. If you don't roll with him, you out of here.
Right.
That's right. That's because you're giving up your status.
That's an excellent point, Brother Sean, because you can already see them gearing up to try to make China the bad motherfucking guy, because they talk about tariff shit. I'm like, y'all must think I'm boo-boo the goddamn fool. I know what you're trying to pull, that China gonna try to call in some motherfucking debt. I don't give a shit. Let the bitch fall. Let that motherfucking dollar cry. I don't give a rat's ass. But concerning this man here, like Cat Williams said, concerning this shit right here, it's not theirs to take.
And it is not our debt. They borrowed that money, if that's truth.
They ain't borrowed no money. The thing is, the entire system is debt.
It's fraud.
It's a debt system. It's
That's
slavery.
true. That's true.
And that's what work and all that shit come in there.
Right,
if you
because
look at
remember,
the etymology,
they never
look at the
had no
etymology of
assets to fucking
to
barter
nothing
with anyway.
No.
Exactly.
Those are notes. They are not money.
It's just paper.
It's paper.
That's
They
how
work
they
the
did what they
on.
did. I mean, of course, they took it by the sword, but to seal the deal was with paper.
Paper genocide.
The universe is bigger than some motherfucking paper. The universe don't give a shit about no paper.
Mm-mm.
The universe don't give a shit about no bombs, none of that. So it is what it is. They know exactly what's going on. They know that this is the age of the golden age. And then all that shit is over with. So I personally, that's their problem, not my problem. But I'm just putting you up on game on what is going on. That is why they're talking about all of these classifications and telling their people to list who the fuck they are, because they might have to pack up their shit and take their ass back over to Europe. So just pay attention. And again, you can check that article out, and you can click on the link and also look at the actual census. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
When I listen to people like David Duke, I listen to him. He always says, "This is our land, America, America." But then he says, "We Europeans," and I'm like, is he really listening to what he's saying? This is America. But you kept saying, "We Europeans."
They know, sis. Let me tell you something. I personally talked to a broad that called herself motherfucking getting bossed up. Gonna tell some motherfucking white boys, each white boy in Nate County, to go down and file some paperwork to claim this, and that. I talked to her, vibration, and pretty much said, and what gives them the right? Oh, well, they're Americans since when? Where the Constitution, I said, and prior to that 1776, whose land was it? Then we got to stumbling and stammering and, well. Yeah, that's what the fuck I thought. So don't think that they don't know. They do.
Their Constitution's been given to the UN anyway. That stuff ain't no good.
Yeah, I heard that.
No,
I don't give a damn if it was anyway, but go ahead, Brother Sean.
A U.S. citizen is not an American.
No,
a
U.S.
citizen is a corporate fiction.
Thank you for saying that.
Holding to D.C. So again, I don't give a fuck.
They got you under their employee status. That's why you have to fill out that SF. Yep. But they take no problems in shooting us down unarmed. So why would you want to be a U.S. citizen?
We at war. They don't care.
We at war. Prisoners of war.
Right. Which is why King wound up getting killed, by the way. Soon as he started talking about that prisoners of war and captives in their own land, they took that ass
it was
out.
Over.
That was a
and what's his name? Malcolm X? Yeah, he said, what, Plymouth Rock didn't, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Right.
He started talking that stuff, and they talk it was in between everybody got it out there. It was a problem between the different groups of people, but the truth of the matter was he was telling the truth about who we are, and they didn't want to hear that because they had the agenda to program us to be African Americans, to be black. I understand the whole program started by white folks or Europeans.
Right.
They ain't even white.
Right.
It started by Europeans, and then they had Wesleyan and all them people teach that stuff at the university after they learned it from them. So how in the world can your enemies, like you said, teach you who you are?
Right.
But
so
that's
that's why I say it is our responsibility to know thyself, to know who you are. And it's no excuse nowadays, but I do have to say, even though it may be small, I do see people waking up to at least have a clue, like, yeah, wait a minute, no, now, Big Mama and them did say that we own land down south, and the white man took it from us. So people are waking up. And the second part of it is, like I keep saying, it doesn't matter if they wake up or not, because Mama Earth has fucking moved on.
Right.
And if you're not rocking with her, your ass is out of here.
Mm-hmm.
She don't give a fuck about your color, where you was born, none of that. You either vibrate right or your ass is out of here. But in the meantime, what she gave to the caretakers, which was the indigenous people, will be returned, because it's really not even ours. God damn it, it's hers. We're just the caretakers that pass it down in generation to generation to keep taking care of it. We as indigenous people didn't even have no concept of goddamn owning nothing. We just knew we woke up, this where you live, you take care of where you live, because it's providing for you.
Right.
So all of this fuckery, like Brother Sean said, this whole system, it's going to fall. It's not natural. Everything is artificial. It's made out of debt. And there's no reason for there even to fucking be a concept of debt when we have everything we need, because Mama Earth provides it. So the whole thing will crash because it could never sustain itself. It always had to be built on slavery. So we have two calls. Go ahead, Brother Sean, before I bring in the callers.
From an etymology point of view, work and job goes back to torture.
Yeah.
And slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Up under the matriarchal system, we didn't have to work. Mother provided everything for us.
That's right.
We're supposed to tend to her and tend to each other.
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
But
that's right.
What's gonna wind up showing? Everybody, with Mother shifting her frequencies, each place has a different frequency, specifically for the beings that are in that area. That's why we have our own indigenous foods, but now we eating stuff from all over the world and wondering how come we sick.
How come we dying?
And all that stuff. So those who are not in frequency with this land,
now you really bringing it deep.
Anyway. So all they little classifications and everything ain't gonna matter anyway. They can lie on a piece of paper and claim to be us. That's all they've been doing. Without their paper, they have nothing. And we need to stop them from using goddamn paper anyway, because they killing trees.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Which I goddamn don't appreciate. Exactly,
yeah,
Brother Sean. Now you bring up a point. I'm gonna really look at stuff differently. That makes sense, Brother Sean, why they motherfucking scrambling, making their own even identify who the fuck they are, because they know they can't stay in these areas.
Right.
They already know. That is an excellent point. Everybody needs to be where the hell they supposed to be. So this is getting ready to be real interesting. So I'm going to bring on callers. We have 917 and then 708. Let me bring on 917. 917,
hi,
your line is open.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hey, yeah, peace and love, sis. Yes.
Peace and love to everybody. Sean, you're correct with what you said. I had to go to court one day, and I actually experienced this. And when I went to court, it was over some money with AT&T. And you know, they brought up land. They brought up land in the court. Instead of bringing up the case, they brought up talking about land that my family owned.
What?
And she told me, and the lady, the so-called magistrate, she told me, "Oh, you're from this tribe," and she told me the name of the tribe. So, Sean, you're correct. They know exactly who everybody is who have land on the planet. So don't even let them fool you. That's bullcrap that they putting on some censor. That's garbage. Hear me clear. I experienced this. And I'm looking at her like, what are you talking about land for when we're here for an AT&T case?
Right.
So we had a big blowout. We had a big blowout in the courtroom. Huh?
It's there to grab your land. And if you don't know who you are,
but that's my point, what I'm trying to tell you. They sent me a notice for something about AT&T, and then when I got there, they're talking about land. And I'm looking at this magistrate like, what the hell are you talking about? So me and her had a big powwow in the place, and I had help that came in and helped me. And she told me, "Oh, you're going to go to jail. You're going to do this." I cussed her ass out and left the hell out of there. Forget her. I'm telling you, they playing with us. They playing. They playing. I'm telling you, this is all garbage. And Sean, you're correct. The system must go. Because even if you say, okay, I'm Indigenous American, now you're going to have to fight because they're going to say, oh, well, get out of here, go to your land or whatever. So then they're going to start killing people and stuff. This is the reason why we don't grow food, because they try to stop the people in the South from growing the food. I heard it from my uncles and my aunties. They told me because they used to grow food. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, that even if you go and say, okay, I got my land or whatever, I'm going to feed the group or whatever, they're going to try to bomb you just like they did Wall Street, just like, and Dr. Henderson said it all the time. They always, when you try to do right, they come in and try to kill your stuff.
Right.
So he's correct. That's true. So I just wanted to drop that on you. They full of shit, I'm telling you.
Wow.
So peace and love to everybody. And I say, keep our heads on straight.
All right. Well, peace and love. Thank you for calling in. Wow.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, that's some shit right there. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
Guess who was the point man on all the Indian Wall Streets falling down?
Oh, let me get myself together. That don't surprise me. That don't surprise me.
The one with the DNA thing? Isn't that the one with the DNA lie?
No, W.E. Du Bois, that's the NAACP.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Which was formed by some white dudes.
Jews, right.
Yeah.
The same one
that
taught him who came up with the study of Egyptology and everything. He was one of their students. Boaz.
Right.
Cressling, the lady, that history instructor, Florence, was it? Cressling?
Dr. Francis Cressling.
Cressling, yeah, she was taught by them people. And so we look at those people as our professionals and know stuff, and they get up there with this black history. What is that? African American history.
And I'm not saying she wasn't taught by them. What I do like about Dr. Cressling, she kind of knocked it out the park getting on the geneticist level and the psychological level. Now, I can't remember, and she probably could have. Don't quote me. I don't remember her too much talking about pushing the African agenda. I just know she was going up against those white boys from Harvard and all that shit that was talking that bullshit from a geneticist perspective, and she was slaying them. So to me, she had much more guts than a lot of those other brother leaders. Now that's just my 2 cents. Now I'm not saying that she wasn't taught by them. I'm just speaking on the work that I know that she done, and I don't know all of her work. I'm just some of it. But your point is well taken. Most of them that came up in that era, they were all And still are. Shit, I can't even say word. I got to motherfucking put still in there. Talking that African agenda, or they're pushing some type of nationalization under a goddamn tribe, under some motherfucking man that wants to rule over folks. And that is not how we were as an indigenous people.
No.
So,
and speaking of those tribes, most are incorporated, and so that means they're part of the government. So you can't even use them 5 civilized tribes because they're recognized by this federal corporation.
Absolutely.
Any of them that's federally recognized. I believe there's 500 federally recognized tribes.
Yep, because even on that census form, if you go look at it, if you check Indian, they specifically say in the verbiage that you have to put what federally recognized tribe that you are. So they really giving you the answers to the little census category.
Well, actually, it's Native American. You can't check that Native American box.
You can't check the Native
American. Yep, it says Native American. Yep.
Can't check that one.
That's how they separate them from us. That's why they hit you with the federally recognized tribe, because if you're not a member of one of them tribes with the white chiefs and this, that, or the other, then you're a Native American. You're Aboriginal.
That's right. I was reading the heritage of the Cherokee, and they were telling what the DNA would show, and what they said is those Native Americans who claim to be Cherokee, who's getting the most of the money right now as a federally recognized tribe, cannot take that DNA test, and they will not find all those things in there that make the match for a Cherokee. They are just getting free money. And so there was an article on Facebook or something where some Trump supporters was asking, I think he was a Navajo law man, are you a citizen? Where's your DNA? See, because now all this stuff is coming out. They being exposed too. Because I don't think we had a definition between a Native American and an Aboriginal or American Indian. They didn't have that definition, I don't think. I can't remember having that separation. But now they're separating them out, too.
Exactly. And on that census form, it's separated out. And it's interesting because once I sat down and thought about the Native American, that whole fiasco, and don't think that all of them are living good. As a matter of fact, most of them are not living good. Only the ones with the connections that get that casino money, that can run the casinos, and then the rest of it is distributed.
They've been slowly cutting all of them off. They've been slowly but surely cutting all of them off. They've taken a beating.
Exactly. I was told personally by someone in the tribe that they are cutting people off. And, I can't mention specifics, so that's just that. But let's put aside the motherfucking casino. Let's put that shit aside. Because I always felt that was a low-level payoff. Because if you have taken my family's entire continent, you gonna give me a stinking-ass casino? Bitch, that ain't what my shit was worth.
Well, that's reparations. Same thing.
They're
going to ask reparations. They're talking about that.
Payoff.
That's the reparations. The reparations is a payoff. Exactly.
It's a payoff. You're going to give up your whole heritage for a little bit of money. That's not even real money.
And Maxine
the casino
side is motherfucking pushing that reparation stuff. But I'm sorry, go
ahead.
Yeah,
really, the Republicans, and what them do, they apologize but say there ain't no money attached to it. Remember they got that a couple of years ago? We apologize for slavery, but you don't get no money.
And you know what? That wasn't the
we would give up something, a lot.
Most of them would have took it. So their motherfucking greed was our goddamn game.
Poverty, more than likely. And they needed to get out of poverty, but you're still in it. If you took it, no matter what.
Right. That's just like anybody else out here that's pushing nationality to join their fucking nation. You're giving up your sovereignty.
Yeah, you are. Topic of the night.
I don't give a damn who it is. So I'm
sorry.
More
no matter.
But the casinos, that's hush money for the $5 Indians. Look, we set y'all up. Y'all pretend like y'all the native people. Y'all pretend like this y'all shit and this,
right.
where we just left y'all at. But a lot of them got houses off the reservation because they're white folks.
So
to speak, white folks. That's just all agreement to keep us confused about who we are, thinking that the history and heritage goes back to those few people they got sitting in these places, and they're brainwashed also. People, we can't say that the quote-unquote Aboriginal American is the most brainwashed person on the planet, because you got these people over here thinking that they're white, thinking that they're American, wherever you go, thinking that they're Chinese, thinking that they're European, thinking that they're this, thinking that they're that. They're not the original Aboriginal beings on the planet, period. So they really have no identity. So that's why they come up with these corporate fictions.
Categories.
That's why they assume identities.
Yep.
Well, you know what, Rhonda, that goes back to that flat Earth. And one of the outer rings somewhere that Mars is over it. Remember that one? Where the planets are over different things. And so they want to go to Mars. So what they want to do is escape after they done stole everything, if they're going to try to steal everything, and go back to one of them outer rings where Mars was, I don't remember which one, that Mars was in control of.
It's the next one over. It's the next one out, rather. And that's what I think, sis. I think that and not only that they're trying to run, like Brother Sean indicated, but I never thought of it in the aspect to be so specific to the land that you have to be in place to what land you're you're indigenous to, but it's going to be our entire realm totally. And if you're not resonating on that frequency, then you got to go to that next layer out, and that's going to be that Mars layer. And so that's what you're going to start hearing them. They're already semi-pumping it. They really finna ramp that shit up. Real.
Well, Dan Brown, in his book, he talked about that. The what they call it?
He did.
Metatron. That they came here from Mars. And, because Mars was destroyed, they say. And he was talking about it a long time ago. And I guess it's coming closer to the time for them to get to stepping. And they really pushing it.
Right. It's going to be interesting. And if you all had the opportunity to finish that Cosmic Egg YouTube video off of the Flat Earth Paradise channel, the brother talked about that he believes that all those other beings that the mythologies talk about, like the Anunnaki and them, they're in those outer layers. Okay? And when we were really, really in the dark ages, they were able to access our realm and cause a lot of havoc. But as the frequency gets higher and higher, these beings that do not resonate on a higher frequency have to retreat to these outer realms. So I kind of agree with you, sis, on that. And good segment, sis, because the second follow-up I wanted to talk about, we talked about the poles shifting, right? Remember, I read that little article from want to say RTT News. Well, Sis Donna from Facebook posted the other day, and this is out of Forbes magazine. Damn, y'all, this shit came out this week, April 2nd. An enormous crack just opened up in Africa. Evidence Africa is literally splitting in two.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so a massive crack suddenly appeared in Kenya, prompting new discussion on the breakup of Africa into two land masses. The crack continues to grow in size as heavy rain falls in Kenya, blah, blah, blah. The sudden appearance of the crack is related to a regional zone broadly associated with the continual breakup of the African continent. The leading hypothesis behind the breakup of the African continent is caused by an underlying superheated plume. This plume is causing Africa to split into along the eastern edge of the continent. Here's where the fuckery comes into place. Thankfully, the rifting process will take millions of years as dust begins to thin and sink, and a small seaway begins to through rift zone. So they just go into technicalities. Let me see. Split continent in two is quite common. For instance, it led to the opening of the Atlantic Ocean. Notice how South Africa would fit. Yeah. Anyway, it just goes into the technical aspect of it. Now, when we read the article from last week, I think it was last week or the week before, quote me, about the continents shifting, not the continent shifting, the earth shifting, poles, because that's what that article said. The poles were shifting. And it specifically said that in Africa, they're noticing the shifting of the poles in Africa. And now this week, they have an article coming out saying that the continent is literally breaking up. So again, what we are witnessing, family, is the golden age, because we are already in the golden age. We're already in it. We're in the beginning. So as Mama Earth expands out, that vibration is getting higher and higher. So yes, we're going to have a lot of earth changes. It does not surprise me about the poles shifting, continents breaking up. The weather's been crazy. Shit, Brother Sean, we were this week alone, and he can back me up. One day, goddamn, we was in flip-flop. Next day you wake up, you brushing motherfucking snow off your car. Then you get to the crib that same motherfucking day, you dodging a tornado. Am I making this up, Brother Sean?
Not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
That's how off the chain stuff is. So just pay attention, family. You are literally witnessing the changing of the ages. You are a part of that. You are witnessing the birth of the golden age. We are in the beginning stages of the golden age. And everything, every person, every entity, whatever you want to call yourself, if you are not resonating with the frequency, you got to go. So just be prepared and enter and understand and read behind the headlines as they're talking about land. Yes, it has a lot to do with the indigenous folks, us, being knocked off of our inheritance, of being conquered, and we're being prisoners of war. But you go back even a little bit further than that, we're talking about the entire planet being in bondage, where the vibration was, in a way, forcefully lowered by knocking down ancient trees and trying to dig up underneath those treasures, those stones. Okay? So you're witnessing the reversal of all of that. Okay? So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead on, Brother Sean. And I see you, 832. I'm coming to you.
They're also actually taking fertile soil from over here and taking it other places.
Oh, wow.
Dug up all
Brother Sean, stop.
They've actually dug up all the soil and minerals and everything over in Africa, or the continent that used to be called Asia. They ain't got shit over there. That's why they coming over here. We still got the most fertile land. You can still feed the world from here. This is the land
of milk and honey.
And all they trying to do is terraform and destroy this.
And it ain't gonna happen, but hey.
But our people better wake up.
But see, that's what also makes me question this whole certain aspects of spirituality. I wonder, I know we have the ability to leave here and not come back, but is that actually what we're supposed to do? We the goddamn gods. We created this shit. You can't tell me that this motherfucker can beat us in the physical realm or any fucking realm.
I totally agree.
I think that's part of the goddamn fuckery, too. We have to correct this mistake that we made. We're going to talk about that tonight.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight, about what sovereignty really means. And I have an excellent article that breaks that down, because it is some fuckery and trickery on the spirituality realm as well. So that's a very, very good point, and we're going to discuss that tonight. I have an article on that, and my mouth just kind of dropped open, because you'll get what I'm saying when we get to that. So very, very good point, brother. Let me bring on 832, and then we're going to really get more deeper into sovereignty. I am. 832, your line is open.
Rhonda.
Hey, brother.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And blessings to Sandra, Sean. We'll continue a little bit what I shared with you last week, and I think what we're trying to say, going beyond Washita, the original tribal name, it's an interesting name. It's called Dug Demoundia. Dug Demoundia. DUGDEMOUNDYAH. It went from large swaths of Canada through the Ohio Valley down to the Louisiana and the Gulf Coast Delta Basin that the Empress Viridiasi, Gostin Turner Elbay, was the mayor over one small hamlet. But, and I'm agreeing 100% with Sean's observation and Sandra's insights. But I have a question, and I'll pontificate a little bit on my little bit. But deception, this issue of Negro, colored, black, African American, Balalian, nigger,
right.
Whatever. Why? Those three letters, WHY. Why is there a deception put on us, particularly? And then the fraud of inferiority. Are you familiar with the book called From Superman to Man? And I'm sure you are familiar with the scholar J.A. Rogers. But the book is it's not even 80, 90 pages or whatnot, but it's a very interesting discussion. And it's so many years ago since I read it. But the premise was a Pullman porter, so-called black man, working on a rail line, running into a Southern cracker senator and spouting and pontificating the classicals. And I know, John, you know what they mean when they say the classics. Okay? So this brother went on and regaled this so-called white man with all the edification of all these mythological things that he had been educated on, and the cracker didn't know. but he was a United States, quote unquote, senator. Okay? So the premise of the story was, who is Superman and who is man? You know, the title of the book is From Superman to Man.
To man.
Now, I'll put a pin in that for a second. I'm sorry?
I said, I was, agreeing. I'm like,
Now, are you also familiar, well, I know you're familiar with the famous book out of the series, Mandingo, but had you ever heard of the Falconhurst series? That was my personal education of slave history in America. My mother didn't ever talk about it. So you talked about Big Mama last week and whatnot. We kind of dismiss discussing who we are because of the badge of dishonor that chattel slavery imposes upon us. And it is no reason for us to be embarrassed or to have shame, but it is compelling, some ways suffocating, overwhelming. So as, Sandra said last week, Big Mama might not have discussed a lot of things, not so much out of fear, but out of protection. And so protecting me from myself, isn't that kind of bizarre? So the series is called Falconhurst Fancy. The drum was the son of Mandingo. But you can even look it up on Amazon. It's almost out of print, but sometimes you might be able to acquire it because the so-called. I'm sorry.
I read Mandingo. Yeah.
These so-called novels, fictionalized stories, gave it focused a lot in the New Orleans area because there is an amalgamation, like the term that Sean said last week. Amalgamation, which then got flipped into script and written into law by the so-called European Caucasian demons as miscegenation. Now, the anti-miscegenation law was to prevent black male potency. It didn't do nothing about the white man raping you. It was preventing the so-called domination of the black sperm and the genetic material, and also keeping the white woman in check. Okay, through terrorism, domestic terrorism, fear mongering. All right, and this demon beast, which was the brute, because the mythological Mandingo buck, that's where all sports have originated from. I don't care what the sport is, boxing, basketball, football, track, whatever. The first thing the Mandingo buck did was dig a ditch. Now, I know you've seen Django and Candyland. He dug a ditch to be the arena for where this battle was going to place the ego of the white man, proving he had the biggest, blackest buck. That was the most powerful and the most deadly. Now, what's the difference in that and the military troops? We are conditioning and making cannon fodder that are primarily so-called black, brown, people of color, or whatever term you want to use, and under the agenda of white supremacy worldwide. When I was saying to you last week about what the Empress stated and was not to be validated by these Europeans, the documentation and the evidence of proving us to be the oldest, and the word, Sean, I think you were looking for was not Aboriginal. It's called autochthonous. You may want to look up the etymology of that word. Autochthonous has no precursor. All the other words, Aboriginal, original, all of them are formed in the definition of autochthonous.
Yeah.
Meaning, just as he stated, we are the source. And there is a particular agenda, purposeful, not just in the census that you're pointing out, not just in the misnomers, the mischaracterizations, and the labels that are particular to us. You see, when they had this bogus discussion about affirmative action and all of these remedies, who was the remedy supposed to be specifically for? Those who are the descendants of chattel slavery. Not immigrants, not white women, not Hispanics, not Asians. Now, we already know the chicanery, the double dealing. the trickery that's gone on, where they're using this fiat currency, this bogus debt instrument, to tell people that we are now including minorities, which is very intriguing because the root word of minority is a minor who is a ward of the state, as Sean has pointed out repeatedly.
Right.
Okay, so when we are the author, literally, of all life, when we are the arbiter of melanin, the precursor of life, literally, because if melanin does not exist when the sperm goes into the ovum, it is miscarried by nature. So if melanin doesn't exist, life doesn't exist. Human life, that is. Now, these beings, these beasts, I'm a bit still speculative, I will say, because it all spawned from us. They do have maybe some level of humanity. It's questionable because their inhumane behavior is pretty evident, and it's beginning to be exacerbated, if you will. That might be the point that you're making about the frequency rising. It's driving them literally insane.
That's true.
Because their children are mass murdering their children. And then we get caught up in the crossfire.
Right.
So why are we feeling compelled to say, and it's a rhetorical question, but it's also a very insightful one. Being the parent of all, any good parent, even the wrong wayward child, will lay down their life to try to protect them, even from themselves. But God knows, and Sean, I agree with all of what your expletive, vulgar-laden description tonight. God forbid that we can't let them go. Let them go.
Right.
Because we are so damaged, we are not healing ourselves.
Right. And those that don't want to let them go / the system go, they're going to go with them. Exactly. So I don't get stressed out about it because everybody has free will, free choice. And if that's what folk want to do, that's their business. They're going to be the hell up out of here. That's
now, let me say one last thing in parting. Oh, I agree. But let me say one last thing in parting. It's not about being a Moor or not, being Islamic or not, being any religious label, characterization. However, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's grandmother was a member of the Washita Nation, and that is what the Empress was trying to get understood by you don't predate us, period. And as I have said repeatedly, I don't care where you came from. Remember, Sean, when you left the club, they said, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. And I yield.
All right there, brother. Thank you so much. Peace and love.
Brother, what is your name? What's your name,
wait a minute. Oh, wait. Let me bring him back just a sec. Okay, brother. You there?
Yes. I was born in the heart of Alabama. The slave name was John, some may say the Baptist. I'm still looking to find what my original name is, and that's what I'm saying. This needs to be this pursuit of whether it's Big Mama, Big Daddy. We need to go far enough back where we go past these people to find out who we truly are.
Agreed. Agreed, brother. Thanks so much, brother. Peace and love. Okay, so I can't remember, y'all. Did I bring on 708? I apologize, 708. I don't think I did. So 708 and
Good,
then
but somebody on before him.
But that was 917. Okay, so let me bring on 708. I apologize, baby. I thought I brought you in. 708, your line is open.
I am just fine. One segment after another. You're on fire and vibration. It's all right with me.
Okay, sweetheart. I'm sorry about that.
No. Peace, love, and blessings to everyone. How's everyone doing?
Well, how are you?
Same to you.
All right. Well, the segment before when you were talking about the census and tying up with the shifting of the earth, There's cracks in Ecuador. There's cracks in Peru. There's a crack this week in Arizona. So
oh, wow.
You got to get ready. You got to get ready. So
yes. And California hit an earthquake today, 5.3.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't get all the details. I was just walking past the screen and saw it, and I'm like, okay, then. So
maybe I should turn on the TV because I'm in Cali.
Okay. So get your stock up on food. If not, you're on your vibration frequency. Doesn't matter who's trying to come here. Everything is sinking, getting ready to leave. So doesn't matter. Wherever home is, we are. Okay?
Absolutely.
Wherever home is if it's the cosmic universe, inside the earth, doesn't matter.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Indeed, sis. Thank you so much.
Peace, love, and blessings to everyone again.
Okay,
peace,
sis. Peace unto you.
Peace
Thanks,
and love.
sis.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, then, fam. So we're going to talk about sovereignty because the title of the show is I Am the True State of Sovereignty. Okay, so, the corporate definition of sovereignty should be pretty standard in everyone's mind, but just to put it on the record, sovereignty is the full right and power of a governing body over itself without any interference from outside sources or bodies. In political theory, sovereignty is a substantial term designating supreme authority over some polity. It is a basic principle underlying and dominant Westphalian model of state foundation. Okay, so that is their official definition of sovereignty. And if you keep going down, this is off of Wikipedia, they're going to get into classical, medieval, etc. So we don't have to go that far. I just wanted to give you what technical definition is of sovereignty. Now, there is something that I know that a lot of us hear about, and especially over the last 3 years, we have heard about the sovereignty movement. Okay, so I do want you all to be aware of these terms. I also want you to put you up on game when these terms are being used, what they are actually talking about. Okay, so now this is off of Wikipedia again, and then we're going to back this up with a couple of other articles. The Sovereign Citizens Movement is a loose grouping of American, Canadian, and Australian litigants, commentators, tax protesters, and financial scheme promoters. Self-described sovereign citizens see themselves as answerable only to the particular interpretation of the common law and as not subject to any government statuses or proceedings. In the United States, they do not recognize United States currency and maintain that they are free of any legal constraints. They especially reject most forms of taxation as illegitimate. Participants in the movement argue this concept in opposition to the idea of federal citizens who they say, have unknowingly forfeited their rights by accepting some aspect of federal law. The doctrine of the movement resembles those of the free men of the land movement more commonly found in the Commonwealth such as Britain and in Canada. Many members of the sovereign citizens movement believe that the United States government is illegitimate. J.J. McNabb, who writes for Forbes about anti-government extremism, okay, so peep that. They are associating sovereign citizen movement with anti-government extremism. Has described the sovereign has described the sovereign citizens movement as consisting of individuals who believe that the county sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement officer in the country, with authority superior to that of any federal agent, elected official, or local law enforcement official. This belief comes from the movement's origin in the white extremist group Passe Comantes. The FBI classifies some sovereign citizen, and then they have in quotation marks, or I'm sorry, parentheses, sovereign citizen extremists as domestic terrorists. In 2010, the Southern Poverty Law Center estimated that approximately 100,000 Americans were hardcore sovereign believers, with another 200,000 just starting out by testing sovereign techniques for resisting everything from speeding tickets to drug charges. In surveys conducted in 2014 and 2015, representatives of the U.S. law enforcement ranked the risk of terrorism from the sovereign citizen movement higher than that from the Islamic extremism. The New South Wales Police Force in Australia has also identified sovereign citizens as a potential terrorist threat. Okay, so now that is coming off directly off of Wikipedia. They even go into like theories, history, legal status of the theories, etc. Okay, so that's coming off of Wikipedia. So I just want you to be aware that when folk are throwing around the term of sovereign citizen, number one, it's an oxymoron. So meaning one is canceling out the other. Are you a motherfucking citizen or are you sovereign? That's first of all. Okay, and if you don't know what I mean, go do a little bit of studying of what the true definition of sovereign is, and we're going to go over that tonight. And then research what a citizen is. So they really cancel each other out. But anyhow, my point for bringing that up so you can be aware of the term, the sovereign citizen movement or the sovereign movement, and how those particular groups are being classified. Now, I'm going to pull up an article off of the Alphabet Boys. This is directly off of the FBI's website. This was off of their archives. This goes back to 2010. Domestic terrorism, the sovereign citizen movement. Domestic terrorism, Americans attacking Americans because of U.S.-based extreme ideologies, comes in many forms in our post-9/11 world. To help educate the public, we've previously outlined two separate domestic terrorist threats: eco-terrorists / animal rights extremists and lone offenders. Today, we look at a third threat, the sovereign citizen extremist movement. Sovereign citizen, and before I move on, they specifically, family, have sovereign citizen in quotation marks, okay? So that's why it's important to pay attention on what you associate yourself with, okay? And like I explained, even the term sovereign citizen really don't make sense. It's really invalid. But anyhow, sovereign citizens are anti-government extremists who believe that even though they physically reside in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the United States. As a result, they believe they do not have to answer to any government authority, including courts, taxing entity, motor vehicle departments, or law enforcement. This causes all kinds of problems and crimes. For example, many sovereign citizens don't pay their taxes. They hold illegal courts that issue warrants for judges and police officers. They clog up the court systems with frivolous lawsuits and liens against public officials to harass them. And they take fake money orders, personal checks, and the like at government agencies, banks, and businesses. So now I'm going to stop right there before I read on. That paragraph, that right there, anybody that has remotely heard anybody hustling some paperwork, almost all of what they mentioned right there is the motherfucking paperwork that they hustling. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Rather you goddamn paying for it or rather goddamn they giving it away for free. Pretty much everything they hit is what folks that's hustling that paperwork. Okay. That's just the beginning. Not every action taken in the name of sovereign citizen ideally is a crime, but the list of illegal actions committed by these groups, cells, and individuals is extensive and puts them squarely on our radar. In addition to the above, sovereign citizens commit murder and physical assault, threaten judges, law enforcement professionals, and government personnel, impersonate police officers and diplomats, use fake currency, passports, license plates, and driver's license, and engineer various white-collar scams, including the mortgage fraud and so-called redemption schemes. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. Now, I can't even, I think they stretching it about some motherfucking murder and physical assault. It could be some cases. You know, I can't vouch for that. I can only vouch for the stuff that I personally heard about. The threatening of the judges and law enforcement, that's going to be concerning the liens and the paperwork they be sending folks. The impersonating police officer and diplomat, that's a lot of these folks setting up their own nations and assigning folks as different titles of officers and diplomats, you know, creating passports, license plates, and driver's license.
Hey, sis.
Uh-huh.
If you think about it, they are committing murder. Remember these white boys, these white nationalists, they get to kill cops and get arrested.
That's true.
They don't get shot in the head or nothing.
That's true, because they were saying you coming on our land and was gunning them the fuck down or pulling them over. That's true. My bad. You right, Brother Sean. You right,
Well,
Brother
you know,
Sean.
Indiana just passed a law that the folks have a right to kill cops if they go outside of their territory, you know, be excessive. I just got a text on that one. I'm like, wow. But the thing is, what the sovereign citizens are doing is taking out the corporation, this federal corporation that is called a government. And that's what their problem is, that they're fighting the big boys. And they're doing it with the organic constitution. And that's not what, and they're European. And so they're telling everybody this is what you can do, and the government don't want people to know this is what you can do. They want to keep it like they're the big boys in the block. So those the ones that he's talking about, you're talking about, those are the ones that bucks the system. You know, they should be quiet. They take oaths. They you know, we didn't do the effery, but people sign oaths to not step outside of the secret. And these people obviously stepped outside of the secret, and they don't like that.
Right, and I totally get where you're coming from, sis, but what I'm trying to do is put people up on game, because I said out the gate, sovereign citizen is a motherfucking contradiction.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're right.
So,
it is
so
that.
right there, point blank, out the gate. Okay. So what I'm trying to put people up on game are some of these things about the passport, license plates, driver's license,
It don't work.
and then the mortgage stuff and redemption schemes. Okay? This is getting, I'm not goddamn concerned about what Caucasian Europeans are doing. I'm not fucking concerned about that. I'm keeping it real goddamn real. I don't give a fuck what they're doing. I am telling my people, you better be careful.
Yeah.
Who the fuck you listening to?
You'll end up in jail.
What type of paperwork you filling out? What type of paperwork you call yourself motherfucking taking the goddamn court? Because you're gonna get locked up.
Yeah, some people have gotten locked.
Completely understand what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point of reading this. If you don't understand it, goddammit, you ain't supposed to be fucking fooling with it.
Right.
If you gonna submit something, you should be able to write that shit yourself. If you can't write it yourself, then goddammit, you don't need to be submitting it, because you don't enter and overstand it.
Right.
You're just regurgitating what someone said to you. And what someone said to you, they broke asses can't even fucking bail you out. So that is my purpose. Be very, very careful. Because I know personally people that they had their shit set out in the street, then been locked the fuck up, listening to what somebody said with some paperwork. That is my purpose of reading this. Okay, so sovereign citizens are often confused with extremists from the militia movement. But while sovereign citizens sometimes use or buy illegal weapons, so that's the white boys you were talking about, guns are secondary to the anti-government, anti-tax belief. On the other hand, guns, and paramilitary training are paramount to militia groups. During the past year, we've had a number of investigative successes involving sovereign citizens, a few recent cases. In Sacramento, 2 sovereign citizens were convicted of running a fraudulent insurance scheme. Operating outside of state insurance regulatory guidelines, the men set up their own company and sold lifetime memberships to customers, promising to pay any accident claims against their members. The company collected millions of dollars but paid out few claims. In Kansas City, 3 sovereign citizens were convicted of taking part in a conspiracy using phony diplomat credentials. They charged their customers between $450 and $2,000 for a diplomatic identification card, which would bestow upon the holder sovereign status, meaning they would enjoy diplomat immunity from paying taxes and from being stopped or arrested by law enforcement. So that backs up what I just said. And then they get locked the fuck up. In Las Vegas, 4 men affiliated with the Sovereign Citizen Movement were arrested by the Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force on federal money laundering, tax evasion, and weapons charges. The investigation involved an undercover operation with 2 of the suspects allegedly laundering more than $1 million from what they believed was a bank fraud scheme. Okay, so again, this comes straight off of the Alphabet Boys website, and literally the title of the article is Domestic Terrorism, the Sovereign Citizen Movement. So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
Yeah, the Moors have also been classified under the Terrorist Act.
Yes, they have.
Islam.
Absolutely.
RBG. All these groups that's saying everything but about the Aboriginal people.
Right.
And basically everything is associated with the Moors because you have white and black Moors.
Right.
You always have since its inception. I mean, but they choose to call themselves Shriners and things like that. The Masons, they're part of the Moors. Yep. I mean, all that stuff is the whole Greek society. They Moors and don't know it.
Yep.
And what makes this group, quote unquote, domestic terrorists? Because they're doing paper terrorism just like the quote unquote government did.
Yep.
They fear them and label them as such because all they trying to do is what they did.
Yep.
Use paperwork to have their way.
Yeah.
They like, y'all ain't the big boys. We the only ones that can do this.
Right.
Y'all can't do what we do.
Right. Right. And that's, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
And they're using constitutional law against the government because the government don't obey the Constitution. And so a lot of those...
Right.
Yeah, there is
corporations have laws that they're supposed to go by.
Statutes and rules, and they are going outside of what's constitutional that they even set up themselves.
Their own statutes and codes. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the people are just trying to get a little bit bigger than the federal. That's what I'm saying.
Right, and you know, again, family, the purpose of this is, you know, not to slam a group or all of that, but that is why I'm staunch on not following any group, not being in any group, because if you are sovereign, what the fuck are you grouping up for?
Well, you need your own outstanding army too, and your own food and everything to be sovereign.
Well, if you're sovereign, why are you filing paperwork with them?
Exactly. Exactly. And you don't need your own food and army. That's if you're from a political standpoint. But we're going to get into the true definition of sovereignty. This last article, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but another article to show you how they motherfucking ain't playing and they're coming after these folks. And I'm just reading this to you, family, so you can be careful with who you're getting information from and what you're getting yourself involved in, okay? Because you're going to get locked up, okay? If you don't know what you're doing, you will be locked up. So this article is off of a security, it's called Security Magazine. The Sovereign Citizens Movement, Threats and Responses. This was in 2016, so they kind of go over the ideology, and this goes back to like the 1933 bankruptcy, all of that. I'm not going to read all of that, but this particular, what I am going to go over is the tactics and the activities that they are documenting on these different groups. So it's saying the sovereign citizen tactics and activities are diverse. These actions may involve harassment of government officials, exploitation of gullible third parties, and leveraging their pseudo-legal ideology to commit fraud and other criminal activities. For illustration purposes, sovereign activities encompass one of the following acts: conducting paper terrorism. Brother Sean said that. The filing of bogus or legit. Now, this the thing. Pay attention. Pay very motherfucking close attention to what they said. Conducting paper terrorism. Example, this is in parentheses. The filing of bogus or legitimate court documents against government officials. Seeking specific performance of financial recovery. Okay, so notice in there they said folks filing bogus shit, but folks, there are official documents. Okay, so that's why I am strong in you have to know what the fuck you're doing when you're filing these paperwork. Okay, you're not supposed to be taking no goddamn package from brother so-and-so that you didn't pay or you didn't get from somebody, and you just filling it out, asking them what the fuck to put on the form and sending it in. Get ready to be locked up, depending on what you're doing. Okay, filing bogus liens and other nuanced filings on real and personal property, submitting harassing filings such as involuntary bankruptcy, establishing fake organizations, nations, tribes, and false documents, license plate, vehicle registration, driver's licenses, and passports, forming illegitimate law enforcement agency, purporting to be a diplomat, creating fictitious financial instruments to pay debts, conducting fraudulent schemes in relation to finance, real estate, insurance, and immigration, among others, participating in mortgage and foreclosure scams, occupying vacant and abandoned property, undertaking threats, takeovers, and acts of violence via or vice versa, government and private sector institution and their employees, seeking to establish common law grand juries in court with the object to issue true bills or bounties against government employees, often police, attempting to file suspicious activity reports and currency transaction report against someone who has aggrieved the sovereign. Okay, so then the article just continues and says they do name some the Caucasian folks that have been killing officers, so they kind of name all of that stuff as well. Okay, so again, this article is off of the securitymagazine.com. It came out in 2016, the Sovereign Citizen Movement, Threat and Responses. Okay, I wanted to give the family a feel of the their definition of what sovereignty is, what the whole sovereignty movement is about, as far as the sovereign citizen movement, and the flags that are associated with the sovereign citizen movement, and with that title, sovereign citizen in itself. Okay, so we are going to get into what sovereignty actually means. Okay, let me get this disclosure. We have about 6 minutes before we go into overtime for those that are in the chat room. If you want to continue to join us, you have to join us online via the phone, 929-477-3858. 929-477-3858. We are going into overtime in about 6 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry. Before I go on, did Sis or Brother Sean, you have anything you want to put on it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of bad that even if it's a legitimate paperwork, they consider you a terrorist. See, that's kind of like communism or fascism, where you can't even say what's real. You know, but I understand they have to have some kind of control, but, you know, if it's legitimate paperwork, they still don't want it.
But actually, what is legitimate within a criminal organization?
I see. It's guilt by association. So
now
if you're part of an association, an organization,
it's all
that's
bullshit.
You got that part of it, huh? I missed that.
They stole it. They don't want to give it back. They want to try and make stuff seem like it's fair, this, that, or the other with their words and paperwork to make you actually think that you got a chance. This way, you're not fighting them. You're still going along with everything because you think that if you actually work hard enough and become stupid enough, that you'll actually get somewhere. It's all a distraction. All this paperwork and all this stuff is a distraction, period.
Right.
Because ain't none of them supposed to be here. Whether you're talking about these white nationalist groups or this sovereign citizen movement, don't none of you fucks belong here either. How about that?
environment.
So
Okay.
y'all can go fight each other over cave space in the Caucasus Mountains. You know, pass your paperwork in the caves.
Oh,
That is
boy. So sorry. I had to take a sip on that one. So, all right. So there goes that. I have nothing else to say on that because Brother Sean wrapped that one up real quick. So now we're going to get into what sovereignty really is. Now we're going to go into sovereignty. Brother Sean, you cracking up a bunch of folks tonight. Anyhow, okay. So now we're going to get into what sovereignty really is. So this article is from Wake Up World. It's time to rise and shine. And I don't see a date on this, family. Sorry, I don't see a date on it. Okay. It's called Spiritual Sovereignty. Tell the Lords of Karma that you are sovereign. Okay, and this is by Cameron Day. Planet Earth and much of our corner of the universe has been under a spell for a very long time. A spell which casts doubt within our minds about whether or not we are connected with the infinite source of all creation. Intrinsic within this holographic spell is the notion that duality and polarity are natural aspects of life and that we must serve one side of duality or the other. Indeed, we have lost sight of our hologram altogether and come to believe that it's the sum of total of reality. It is vitally important to sever all ties with the false light spiritual hierarchy and the seemingly opposing team of dark light duality paradigm. I discussed this at length in a previous article, Why I Am No Longer a Light Worker, which generated a lot of positive responses as well as tremendous resistance and scorn from those who are heavily invested in illusion, the false light of the New Age movement. So this is kind of talking about what you were saying a little earlier, Brother Sean. If you haven't already, you can read the first, so you can go back and read that article. The Lords of Karma. The false light demiurge parasites known as the Lords of Karma are perhaps the worst violators of free will that I have encountered, second only to the corrupt urge itself. They are the primary gatekeepers that allow or deny beings access into and out of the demiurgic system. As such, they must be exposed. Their perversions of the natural law of karma is so staggering scope that I will only be able to cover a small portion of it in this article. To begin with, they are responsible for forcing beings to reincarnate over and over again in clear violation of universal law. And the free universe outside of the demiurgic enslavement system, a being is free to incarnate onto any planet that they choose. When a being's physical life comes to an end after hundreds, thousands of years, they return to the infinite source for a rest, and then decide what they want to do next in order to continue to learn and grow. Nowhere in this process is a hierarchy group of controlling, manipulative beings like the Lord of Karma present. As you can see by my use of quotes around the word lords, I despise calling them that at all. So in my usual style, I have given these beings a new, somewhat sarcastic name, the turds of karma. I started calling them this after an encounter several months ago when I was removing deep layers of imposed agreements that they were trying to hold in place. At one point in the process, I forcefully told them them, "You are the biggest piece of shit that I have ever seen. I don't owe you anything. You owe every single being that you have manipulated a debt that you never be able to repay." At that point, they left very quickly. After that, the name Turds of Karma just stuck. Although it is somewhat juvenile, I think it fits, and I hope that you will think of them in the same way so that you won't be fooled by their con artistry now or later when you depart from the physical realm. With that bit of renaming out the way, let's explore some of the ways the Turds of Karma, TOK, manipulate beings. The life review scam. The primary tool of the TOK used to manipulate a being into accepting nearly endless reincarnation is the false light review. When a person's body dies, they move out into the astral realm and begin to shed most of their previously held identity. If this process were allowed to occur without corruption, the true light of that being would emerge from within them, and they would release layer upon layer of limiting beliefs generated in that incarnation. However, within the realms of the demiurge control system, what happens is the TOK intercepts that being just as their light is starting to emerge from within and surround them in a dazzling display of colorful external light. This is why most people with near-death experiences report going through a tunnel of light. The dazzling outer display distracts the being from the light emerging from within them and hypnotizes them through frequency entertainment and activating of any and all religious programming that being has been exposed to during their incarnation. The TOK and other members of the spiritual hierarchy, such as archons, angels, and ascended masters, will often be present in the background during this process. As the individual is filled with a feeling of universal love and connectedness, they are told that this feeling is coming from the external beings of light that are surrounding them. However, this feeling of universal oneness and love is actually emerging from inside of the being, and it is being reflected back to them by the TOK and the hierarchy. The individual doesn't have any time to reflect on what is happening because they are quickly moved into the review phase of the process. They are shown a little movie of their life, which focuses on the disappointments, unfulfilled desires, painful experiences, and hurtful actions the person experienced during their life. Through this biased and manipulated life review, the being is made to feel bad about their life, which is exactly what the TOK want. They tell the person that even failed at so many things in their life, that they will be given a chance to go back one more time and get things right in a new incarnation. The being is then grateful at this chance for redemption and accepts the agreement that the TOK presents to them to incarnate again. If that being was raised with a Christian type of indoctrination, they will encounter Jesus and the angels, but be told that they are not yet worthy to enter the kingdom of heaven. Of course, the fear of being sent to hell is so strong in their belief system that they jump at the chance to reincarnate and become worthy to enter God's kingdom, which is actually the demiurge's kingdom. After agreeing to reincarnate, being is then sent to a heavenly realm in the middle to upper astral realm to await reincarnation. This realm is nicely decorated with simulations of nature, lovely views, and a staff of guardian angels who make sure those beings go back to Earth when their time comes. Of course, those guardians are actually parasitic sheep herders tending to their flock, and there is no allowance for the beings held in the realm to go elsewhere. Karmic transference. If the content of an individual's life, unhealed wounds, and unfulfilled desires isn't enough to convince them that they need to reincarnate, they are presented with an even more brazen deception. They are shown what they are told is their own past life where they committed horrible crimes, and they are told that they need to continue incarnating into adverse conditions in order to work off that bad karma. In reality, the life they are shown is not theirs, but rather the action of some being closely aligned with the hierarchy who made pacts with them to avoid taking energetic responsibility for their actions. Some of the criminal beings' malicious is then projected onto the individual who is being tricked into believing that they were once that horrible. That being then takes on agreements to discharge bad karma that they supposedly earned for themselves, never realizing that I designed to keep them subjugated and enslaved. This is done to force the being's agreement to reincarnate and take responsibilities for crimes they did not commit, ensuing that the person's next life is going to be filled with undue hardship. This karmic transference also allows those dark sorcerers who have aligned with the hierarchies to avoid the repercussions of their own actions. This transference is also used on a large scale upon the populace of the planet through the forms of mind control and media manipulation. To properly explain, that will require a separate article, but the basic mechanism for how this is done is through subconscious agreements embedded throughout the media, corporate logos, sigils, financial contracts, admiralty law, and the matrix institutions. Coerced demiurgic entry agreements. One more very important aspect of the agreements that are put upon beings by the TOK are the original entry agreements that the being coming into the corporate demiurgic realm are forced to make in order to be given entry into this system. Many of us came here from what I call the free universe to help settle the demiurgic system from within, and the hierarchy imposed extensive list of coerced agreements upon these free souls in order to limit their effectiveness. These entry agreements also contain clauses that allow for unspecific hardships to be leveled against a being during their incarnation, including but not limited to birth bumps to bad parents, physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychic attacks, etheric implantation, dream manipulation, recruitment into the false light workers corp, relationship issues, health problems, money problems, physical abduction and implantation, lack of self-worth, and much more. Most of free universe beings coming in were pretty confident they could overcome those limitations, so they signed up. There really was not much option, but some of us negotiated more fiercely than others and were saddled with fewer of these pernicious agreements, but no one came in unscathed. Regardless of how many coerced entry agreements we have, it is important to remove all these agreements in order to get clear and proceed with our chosen task of healing and waking up others, as well as pulling apart the demiurgic construct from the inside. Revoking agreements. This is the process that I use and have been sharing with others in clearing out agreements. Hierarchy hides copies of these agreements in various realms. So specifically, it's important in this process. It is also important that you engage in this process from your sovereign inner self, higher self, divine inner self, and that you make this process your own. Just reading revocation statements will not get the job done. We need to be consciously engaging this process, using force of our will to affect the change we desire. I have found that once a person starts revoking agreements, it becomes easier over time to dig deeper to find more of them. Beware that agreements are often splintered off into various fragments in order to make them harder to find. For example, there may be agreements to have difficult relationships, difficult relationships with parents, with siblings, with friends, etc. These are all different agreement clusters that need to be specified and removed in separate processes. So don't worry about getting rid of everything all at once. Take your time and work through them on a daily basis as you sense them affecting you. The process outlined below is based on self-clearing systems, level 1 and level 2, which form the foundation for the energy clearing work that I do. So stand in the power of your divine inner self sovereignty. Expand the light of your divine inner higher self from your heart, surrounding your body in a heart sphere of sovereign energy. Connect to Earth's core, galactic core, infinite force, and the forces of the divine light. Ask for a galactic vacuum to be ready to remove everything into the galactic core. This is a funnel of galactic core energy that vacuums up everything needed to be removed and transmuted. Call up all agreements related to feeling like a victim or anything on this timeline and all other timelines in the past, present, and future, and with all dimensions, density, levels, realms, and realities. Call for all reinstatement clauses, copies, backups, mirrors, counterparty copies, etc. of the agreements. State, from the authority of my sovereign self, I declare all these agreements null and void. I revoke all of these agreements as well as all counterparty copies, reinstatement clauses, duplicate backups, mirror, etc. of everything previously named. Proclaim, I reclaim all of my energy that has gone into these agreements. As your energy essence, soul fragments, each come back to you, reintegrate them through your heart center. Command, I send all of these agreements in all facets previously named into the galactic vacuum to be transmuted into the galactic core. Call forward all copies of these agreements and send them into the galactic vacuum for transmutation. These are of agreements held by parasitic beings who drain small amounts of your energy via those agreements. Some of those beings might claim to be lords of karma in order to exert authority over you. Don't believe any of their lies. Tell those urged beings, I am sovereign. All of your parasitic counterpart beings are hereby notified. You are forbidden from ever affecting my energy again. If you do attempt to violate my sovereign energy sphere, I will forcefully send you to the galactic core to be transmuted. While transmuting will be the best thing that has ever happened to you, it's possible that you will not emerge if there is nothing left within you to salvage and transmit. You have been warned. Next, offer these demiurges, counterparty beings, an opportunity to step into the galactic vacuum, to be taken to the galactic core and transmuted. Some of them will take this opportunity so that they can be free from the demiurges' control and hierarchy enslavement. Declare, I remove all implants, imprintings, overlays, beliefs, perception, attitudes, identities, frozen emotions, etc. related to these agreements. Ask your divine inner self to direct a galactic vacuum through your unconscious mind, subconscious mind, and all throughout your sphere of consciousness to remove all of these components and anything else related to these agreements. Next, expand the light of your true sovereign inner self to fill in all the areas that you have cleared. This allows the truth, who you really are, to replace the false constructs that have been removed. Call forward and restore the original agreement that you made with infinite source to incarnate into the troubled realm and carry source light in your incarnation. Let the loving power contained within that original agreement dissolve any remaining constructs related to those old artificially imposed agreements. The most important part of all of this is your will to make this happen. Feel angry if you need to. Harness any righteous indignation you have and use force of your will. Affirm often, I am sovereign, and no one is allowed to take my energy. I am sovereign, and no being or non-being is allowed to infringe on my sovereign space. The galactic vacuum. This is a tool that I use on a daily basis in removing limiting energies, defending my sovereign energy boundaries, as well as helping clients do the same. Any thought form, etheric implant, or soulless being put into the vacuum is taken into the galactic core to be transmuted back into pure energy. Any being with a soul sent to the galactic core are either transmuted, cleansed of their darkness, and rehabilitated, or dissolved back into basic energy, destroyed. Either outcome is fine with me, although I am always rooting for them to emerge as healed, sane beings who can be productive members of the universe once again. Whether or not a being is healed or restored or is destroyed is between them and source. I do not make that decision. I am simply serving as a galactic conduit to send that being to look into the galactic mirror, take responsibility for its actions, and hopefully heal and regain sanity. I do warn that these beings one time that they are not permitted to infringe on my sovereign energy and that they need to back off, or I will defend force in order to send them to the galactic core. Most of them will make a show of standing down, but will try to send in a energetic probe or feeling layer in order to continue their agenda. When I sense this, I go to the source of incursion along with multiple vacuums and clean house. About half of these parasitic demiurge beings can be redeemed and transmuted back into the same productive members of the free universe. That is actually a good ratio, considering how far into fear, insanity, control, enslavement, abuse, manipulation, destruction, and hierarchy these beings have gone. Universal law and defensive force. In most New Age doctrine, it is considered unspiritual or uninvolved to even consider the use of defensive force. A good little New Ager is apparently supposed to let people and parasitic beings walk all over them, steal from them, drain their energy, manipulate, implant them, and harm them in any manner they choose. Not only that, but they should also suppress any negative emotions so that they will basically be happy victims of such abuses. This manipulative, deceptive teaching comes from the false light, and nothing could be further from the truth. The prime universal law is very simple. All beings are sovereign and have free will to express their creative urges in any way they choose, but no being has the right to violate and harm others. The corollary to that law is also very simple. Because all beings are sovereign, they have the right to defend themselves from harm, using whatever level of force is necessary to stop the violation from occurring, even if it results in the destruction of the one inflicting the harm. The enslavers and deceits of spiritual hierarchy are in clear, total violation of universal law. They avoid the natural law of attraction, which reflects a being action back to them. By coercing and manipulating other beings into agreeing to be victimized and enslaved, as well as convincing other beings to take on responsibility for their crimes and karmic transference. The demiurgic beings, many layers of deception and predicated on the big lie we are separate from infinite source. The false light beings then build upon this lie by convincing beings that universal law doesn't exist, that individuals have no inherent right to self-defense, that they must submit the will of the terms of karma authority, and that people must worship the psychopathic demiurge and his angelic beings in order to be granted entry into God's kingdom one day. The real truth is that we have never been separate from infinite source, as that is a metaphysic possibility. A being choose to ignore their connection, believe it's not there, and even believe that they have severed that connection, but believe in a lie does not make it true, because truth is not relative in their eyesight, in other words. As a metaphoric example, imagine if a group of human beings decided to sever themselves from the atmosphere by only breathing air from a scuba tank. Are they really separate from the atmosphere? No. They still exist within the atmosphere, even if they are breathing a seemingly separate source of air. Nevertheless, the demiurgic beings have fully committed to their own illusion of separation from source, and therefore must find an alternative source of energy they derive from humanity in the form of worship, adoration, beliefs, counterparty contracts, distorted sexuality, deception, confusion, apathy, struggle, pain, suffering, hate, death, etc. Going on a spectrum of energetic gourmet food to junk food for the parasitic being in that example. The last thing that the hierarchy wants is humanity coming to an understanding of universal law and how thoroughly we have been enslaved through deceit. The instant we declare, I am sovereign, and no being has any right to take my energy from me, the game changes radically. From that space of knowing that we are sovereign individuation of source, we can exercise our sovereign rights, including the righteous use of defense, right and wrong. Another false life teaching affects the New Age movement as there is no such thing as right or wrong, that everything is just an experience and that it's there to teach us a lesson. While it is true that we can learn valuable lessons from adverse circumstances, this does not mean that it is necessary or desirable to continually be oppressed, manipulated, implanted, deceived, enslaved, and drained of energy. Those are experiences the human race has had far too much of already. With an understanding of universal law, we can observe that it is inherently wrong to harm another being who has done no harm to us. We can also understand that working together and cooperating with others is often the right thing to do. These simple concepts should be adhered to in order for us to free our minds from the twisted logic presented in the New Age teachings that would have us believe that the incredible amount of suffering inflicted upon humanity is entirely its own doing, as well as a wonderful learning experience, so we should not take any action to help others to alleviate suffering. So it were the African American slaves having a learning experience. How about the Irish and the Scottish indentured servants before them? How about the medieval serfs who could be executed at the whim of the king or one of his minions? No, these people were clearly being enslaved, which is recognized as something that is wrong. Similarly, humanity is not having a wonderful learning experience by being exposed to the corrupt demiurge's spiritual hierarchy. We are learning, in short, which is how to declare our sovereignty and stop being slaves. Well, many of us are. Hierarchy. One of the major roots of these worldly and metaphysical problems is the concept of hierarchy. Everywhere we look in the world, we have usually male-dominated hierarchical system of organizations. Hierarchy is an insidious, disempowering system of authority, obedience, and enslavement that must transcend in order to begin to heal ourselves and our world. Likewise, we must transcend spiritual hierarchies that foster enslavement, subservient, and blind obedience. The corrupt demiurges and its minions or archon angels, fake ascended masters, ETs, demons, etc., are the ultimate representation of degenerate hierarchy that consumes life force and leaves only destruction in its wake. Transcending transcending metaphysic hierarchy is a process of self-liberation, clearing, gaining self-knowledge, gaining knowledge of universal and earthly natural law, and exercising our sovereign will. First, we have to know through and through we are fully connected extensions of the divine infinite source of all creation. When we know that, not just think it on an intellectual level, realize that there is no legitimate authority outside of ourselves. There is only inner authority and self-government, which when guided by understanding of universal law, prohibits us from instigating actions that would harm others. Enlightened self-governance and adherence to universal law is the foundation for a free society. Only with this foundation in place will we be able to avoid the ego trap of exerting authority over others to control and regulate their behaviors which do not harm anyone else. Only through enlightened governance will we be able to build an entirely new type of society that is self-organized to solve problems and to the needs of the many as a genuine expression of desire to cooperate and make the world that benefits everyone. This has to be an ever-evolving co-creative process that we will continually discover as the idea needs to be attested and applied where it's willing to be accepted in an open source manner through voluntary participation of all individuals involved in a non-hierarchical, uni-level self-organizing process. Requires an entirely new way of thinking, organizing, and taking action, and all old models of centralized top-down authority need to be abandoned because, as we are already seen, any attempt to impose a onto the world will always result in oppression and will ultimately fail. We have within us the potential to free every single human being from shackles of enslaving, of hierarchy, and external authority, to work together and create solutions to provide the basic needs: food, water, power, shelter, clothing, transportation, and knowledge to everyone on the planet. Creating self-generating systems to support all of these needs is totally achievable, but only if we can cooperate as sovereign individuals who respect the rights and boundaries of others. Such a shift in our world depends on us to know that we are sovereign, to proclaim our sovereignty, delete our slave-keeping programming, and then to work together in cooperation as sovereign individuals with the common goal of maximum empowerment of everyone on the planet. Proclaiming sovereignty. The process of sovereignty and removing the false programming that has been embedded in our psyches from multi-dimensional levels of control takes time and consistent effort. We need to proclaim daily, I am sovereign, I am free. Only I can govern me. Or any other way you want to phrase it, since you are sovereign after all. We also need to put in the self-clearing work required to revoke all agreements that have been made either consciously or subconsciously to give our power away to external authorities to experience unnecessary suffering or limitations, to bear karmic burdens that are not to bear, etc. This is not a quick process, and I am going through my own version of it on a daily basis. The hierarchies does not respect free will, healthy boundaries, or your right to say no to them. They use every possible type of manipulation, coercion, and naked force to get their way. This is how the patriarchal hierarchy beings work. Notice the similarities in the word hierarchy and patriarchy and the turn influence. The aggressive, domineering energy of patriarchy seeks to control every facet of every being's existence, taking and consuming everything that it possibly can. This is represented physically by corrupt hierarchy governments, secret societies, and corporations exploiting people and the environment. It is represented metaphysically by the corrupt demiurges and its legions of enslavers, of which the turds of summer are simply one division of the control grid. So I apologize. So when he talks about the physical corruption of the hierarchy, government, secret societies, and corporation, he's saying that's the below. So he's explaining the below realm. When he talks about the physically, he's explaining an above realm, the demiurges, its legions, and enslavers. This is why it is so important to remind those pesky, quote, quote, lords of karma and all of the demiurgic parasites that you are sovereign, and be willing to utilize your sovereign power to back up that statement. They don't speak the language of love, so that means we need to use some force in order to get our point across. This is how it's difficult to uncover these things, to stare malevolent being in the universe in the face and tell them that I am sovereign and I will not permit them to violate me. Ironically, though, in some ways, it's even more difficult to share these revelations publicly. So many people are completely sold like ascended masters, ET, and angels tell what to do, how to think, and how to live, that they attack me for bringing this revelatory information to the public. To those people, I say quite simply, believe what you want to believe. I am going to keep working on knowing the truth and taking appropriate action to right the wrongs that have been done to humanity by the very beings that you are giving your power away to. I choose to stand for truth as a sovereign being, alongside, not beneath, the sovereign beings of the free universe who take action as opposed to all forms of deception, parasitism, and enslavement. I thank those of you who stand alongside and take action with us. Okay, so I know that was long. Again, this article is off of wakeupworld.com. Okay, I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. Press start. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
Okay, I agree with that as far as for no distinction between good and evil. Because in a basketball game, there's certain rules that don't apply to real life, but those are real rules to that game.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's that,
I know it was a lot in that article, and I had to get it out, family. He was going in.
Right.
It was a lot in there.
Yeah, we've been over the demiurges.
Yep.
And their hold on us.
Yep. And we talked about that middle realm. Yep.
The thing is, basically, is just letting go.
Yes.
And if you take the word sovereign, S-O, solar, soul, soul reign, you must reign over your own soul.
Exactly. I knew you was going to break the etymology down, so that's why I didn't even bother. Can you say that again, Brother Sean? What does sovereignty really mean?
Soul reign, reigning over your own soul.
That's right.
And the patriarchy and hierarchy, is anarchy of her heirs.
Say that again. I caught it, but I want to make sure everybody gets what you just said, because that was pretty powerful.
Hierarchy, anarchy of her heirs. All land rights and everything go through her.
That's right.
And then you have all these people talking about, out of balance, there must be a divine masculine with the divine feminine. Nobody ever said that it wasn't. But that shit is out of place. So all y'all that keep talking about, what about the patriarchy? Fuck the patriarchy, okay? We got to take a goddamn back seat. She got to be put back on her throne. Y'all keep talking about patriarchy, but you what? She ain't supposed to get her throne back because you keep hollering patriarchy? That's part of that demiurge shit.
Yes,
and that's
it
why
is.
they keep coming back here. And all them people talking all that stuff keep coming back because everything that we went through was under the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
All this suffering and everything is under a patriarchal system. But all these people want change. They want to go to the astral realm and this, that, and the other. But you ain't going no goddamn where. That's all part of the goddamn trick.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We done been over there.
Recycling back in. Yep.
It's about your soul. It's about your soul. And having control over your soul to be able to navigate through all this.
Exactly.
Right. Like you say, as far as for terminating the contract, there's nothing that you have to sit up and profess to nobody. You don't have to send off no paperwork to nobody. Just quit doing the things that put you into it.
Right.
Stop. Let it go. And be who you're supposed to be. Do what you're supposed to do. Your actions show them better than anything else that you're not in their system, that you're free. As long as you keep going back and forth, arguing with them, putting in paperwork, you going to respect my rights, this, that, you lowering yourself to their standard because you sitting up arguing with them about some shit that you should already know. You know who you are. Why you sitting up arguing with him about who you are?
That's right. That's right.
And I yield.
All right. Sis, did you have anything to put on it?
Well, I was thinking about that stuff we say all the time. Everybody has to work out their own soul salvation. Mm-hmm. And what I got out of it was the people at this time on the physical plane, it's the time to clear out your reverence, somebody you consider greater than yourself. Because you're just as great, if not greater, than all these false people who you didn't put up as your heroes or your demigods, as you want to say. And I remember a dream I had before I had my death experience. And this dream was this lady was sitting in church, sitting on the front row. She had a purse sitting next to her, and somebody stole the money out of her purse. And so she was going to tell the preacher, but the preacher was on a roll. You can't say, hey, give me my money church.
Right.
So she was respectful of the preacher, and she wanted to, and somebody in the back say, get out of the churches. She said, I guess I better go on out the churches before I say something, because you're not supposed to interrupt the preacher. So she went out to churches, and she ended up dying. She walked outside, and she died. and then she went up. That reminded me of the elevations you were talking about, the different levels you go, and they try to and distract you and strict you and distract you. And what she did was her spirit just rose up out of her body, and she went into that Christian realm. And she thought it was going to be wonderful. She thought she was going to see some streets of gold and the gates of pearl, whatever they say, that's in the scriptures. And what she got was a slave shack with an old man sitting in there in a rickety chair at a rickety desk and a book with her name in it. Because she had not let go of the demagogue of this Christian paradigm. And instead of having a great reward for being quiet and not smacking that person who stole the money or interrupting and let people know there's thieves in the church, she was quiet. And when she had the opportunity to declare, I ain't going to sit here for this, nobody going to steal from me, she died. And what she had expected for her obedience was not what she received. And that was going to be her eternity. And that's what they were kind of saying in that, because I was kind of struck by all the levels that you go through after that person died that he was talking about. And I said, I saw. I already saw that. So we have to understand that where we put our energy, that's where you give it to. You're giving these people your energy when the energy should be yours. You should be sovereign. You're not going to wait for somebody to help you. You got to help yourself. What you declare is your Lord and your God. That's what you're going to get when you leave this joint, because you got to start now to change the paradigm. You can't wait. So that's what I got out of it.
Indeed, very good. And I think Brother Sean got kicked off. Dang, I think he did. So, and family, I put that article on the Truth Uncompromised website. So if you want to pick it up and read it for yourself. But what I got out of it is what the true definition of sovereignty is. So it didn't mention anything about some paperwork that you sending in to XYZ. It didn't mean anything about somebody else handing you some paperwork or you being associated with somebody's XYZ nation. That's why the title of this show is I Am. Because I am that I am. So I am, like Brother Sean broke down the definition of of sovereignty, reigning over my own soul. I am that I am. Okay? So that's what I got out of it. Now, as far as the agreements that he talked about, the spiritual agreements, that is particularly dealing with your subconsciousness. Okay? So that is rectifying all of the doctrine that you have accepted. And we've talked about this for quite some time, for about a year, about the doctrine of poverty, the doctrine of what you don't have. All of those are agreements that you have signed on for, whether or not you were manipulated to sign on to them or you willfully signed on to them. But you are the governor or the reigning of your own soul. So you can break all of that. Release yourself from all of that. And with that responsibility of releasing yourself, as you release yourself, there's a great responsibility to reign your own soul. That means you don't look to no goddamn body. Me, I don't give a goddamn who it is. You don't look to anybody for what you need from self. Okay? You are responsible for that. You are the God. That's what sovereignty is about. So I I am going to play one video. We're running out of time. We are going to revisit this because I still have more stuff I wanted to go over, and then I am going to do a show to finish up this, and then I also want to finish up Cosmic Egg, because we're going to go back over the part where that brother was breaking down them different realms, because in that article, he talked about those other realms that the demiurges are waiting.
Right.
That brother broke all of that down. So we're going to go back over that and then go over the outer layers of what's going on as we enter into the golden age. So this one video I do want to squeeze in. It's called Spiritual Maturity and Spiritual Sovereignty. And it's off of the YouTube channel MJ Energy, and it's about 8 minutes, so let me boogie on. Where the hell is it? I just had it. Family. I'm trying to get it all in. Okay, here we go.
Hi everyone, Psycho Sorcerer here. Today I'd like to talk to you about spiritual sovereignty. Now, what does it mean to be spiritually sovereign? Let's start by analyzing the word sovereignty. When I say sovereignty, you probably think of a sovereign or monarch, somebody who rules over a group of people or over a nation. You may also think of a sovereign nation, which is a nation that rules itself or that is ruled without having outside influence. You may also think of someone who's sovereign within a nation, which is somebody who's not beholden to the laws of that nation. All of these are great legal definitions, but what does it mean to be sovereign, to be someone who is in and of themselves sovereign? What does it mean to be spiritually sovereign? This is to be in control of, responsible for, oneself. This is to be in control of, responsible for one's actions. This is to be in control of, responsible for one's future. To be sovereign is to accept the tenets of magic, that we make our future, that we control our fate, and that as a result, anything we do has a consequence, that we can cause whatever future we want, but we are ultimately responsible for anything that happens as a result of what we do. That's what it means to be spiritually sovereign. And if you're spiritually sovereign, it comes with a few benefits. Now, often when I talk about evocation, I bring up the fact that I haven't had negative experiences, but I've had people ask me recently what to do about negative entities. There's this belief within the spiritual community that there are negative entities that try to vampirize your energy. They may try to bring you fear so that they can absorb portions of your energy. Whether that's true or not, I can't say. There's a part of me that believes that these vampiric entities exist, and a part of me that believes that it's a psychological thing. It's our own inner demons manifesting within our psyche. But regardless of what it really is, there is this thing when you're first starting out, if you're trying to do evocations and things, and you haven't gone through the fullness of one of these initiatory courses, such as ridding yourself of your fears and your false beliefs, where it seems to bring about these things. Now, how do you battle that? Simply by becoming sovereign. If you stand up to whatever this entity that seems to appear to you is, and you announce to it that you are sovereign, you are in control, and you feel within yourself that sense of control, these entities have one of three choices. They can either disappear, retreating, they can bow down to your sovereignty, or they can reveal themselves to be not enemies at all, but rather potential allies. These are the only three things that can happen once you reveal that you're sovereign. Now, if you believe in the spiritual and supernatural, this means that you are showing your power, your dominance. You are showing that you are one with the all, and you are aware of your strength, and you are expressing that to these entities. If, however, you believe in the psychological, what you're doing is reminding yourself that you are in charge and in control of your own body and mind, that you're the one that makes decisions and ultimately is responsible for the outcomes. And these demons, these past beliefs, these false beliefs, these darker parts of you that scare you with the chaos, you begin to lose that fear of. And as a result, the entity you're seeing will back off, will fade, or will turn out to be an ally. So whether you believe this is psychological or supernatural, being sovereign works. Being sovereign is merely reminding yourself that you're in charge of your own actions, that you are in control of what happens to you, and that ultimately it's your decisions that make the future happen. Some people have in the past talked about alien abductions, and often I've heard them compared to demon observations, and they've said that if you call upon the name Jesus Christ when this happens, you will see these entities retreat. What's actually happening here, usually in a dream state for most of the people who've experienced this, is that they are calling upon the sovereignty of a deity. These people believe that Jesus Christ is their sovereign, their King of Kings, their master of their reality. They've given away their sovereignty to this external entity, Jesus, and when they call upon him, they're calling that sovereignty back. This works perfectly for getting rid of these entities if you're someone who's Christian. If you're someone like myself who doesn't bend a knee to any particular god or deity, or if you're an atheist, for example, this sort of thing won't work for you. But if you call upon your own sovereignty, it will work just as well. Now, I'm not saying that for anyone who's Christian, this means that Jesus isn't a reality, that you're not actually getting something out of it. I'm just specifying that the same results can be had from simply being spiritually sovereign. So the value in spiritual sovereignty is twofold. One, it will get rid of the negative issues, negative incidents that you run into if you're having those. And two, it will help you in your magical practice, because when you accept your sovereignty, you're able to start to control your own beliefs, and when you control your beliefs, you're able to get rid of negative false beliefs and bring in positive, real beliefs. Now, within the Catholic Church, there was a movement at one time for sovereignty, for people to call upon the sovereignty of God when doing exorcisms. This is the same practice. They're calling upon this stance of being in a position of power, being responsible for what happens with the entity, and then in that position of power, they're able to control it. This is all sovereignty is, accepting yourself as in power of yourself. Now, being sovereign doesn't mean that you control every aspect of your reality. Don't think that this means that we live within a bubble and anything we think happens, and so as a result, nothing bad can happen to us unless we let it happen. That's not exactly correct. Each of us are sovereign. Each of us can act on one another. What sovereignty means is that we understand that even when bad things may come up, we trust ourselves to make good decisions in order to deal with those things. We trust in ourselves in order to do the best we can, and we trust in ourselves not to let ourselves down. It also means that we're responsible when we do something wrong. Now, that might not sound fun, but believe me, if you're someone who's being haunted by what you would consider to be negative entities, you're going to find that taking on this role of sovereignty will help you immensely. If you haven't had that problem, you probably already see yourself as sovereign, or you're in a religion like Christianity, Islam, where you believe in an external sovereign force, and your belief in that force and having a connection to that force is giving you the same outcome as being sovereign. That's really all there is to spiritual sovereignty. If you're interested in spiritual sovereignty, there'll be some sources at the end of the video. One last thing I'd like to say on the matter, however, is that if you're going to go into astral travel, or if you're going to evoke entities, it's usually good to practice sovereignty. And if you're dealing with external entities,
Okay, sorry about that because we only have two minutes, so I wanted to stop it there. We are going to pick back up on this subject. It may be next week. I'm not for sure. If not next week, the week after, we'll conclude with this topic. I am sovereign, and then I'll also conclude with